take your life seriously.
Hey everyone, we're recording a new formatted podcast today and we're going to call it Rapid Fire. Okay, it's going to be a short format podcast, roughly around about 10 minutes. We're not going to stay 10 minutes exactly because it might be a bit longer or a bit shorter. And it's just a bit of a way that we can get content out fast and have it small as well. Bite-sized content. Let's think of it like that. So...
Mate, I'm looking forward. We literally came up with this morning when we were rolling at the 6 a.m. class. We have a lot of thoughts, me and Ricky, and we thought, why not share those thoughts in some small, short, bite-sized chunks of content? So this is what we came up with, the Rapid Fire podcast. I'm excited to get this one started.
Yeah, I am as well. I think sometimes these podcasts can take a lot of prep time for us and stuff, but we sometimes have little conversations we think that'll make really good points for the viewers. So I think this would be a really good way of just actually not thinking about the content too much and then just getting it out there. A bit more real than for you viewers. So it should be good.
And the first episode of this new format podcast is about choices. So let's set the scene a little bit and revisit the conversation that we had this morning after we finished training. So it is the coronation weekend this weekend. It's Monday morning right now. So the coronation of King Charles III has happened over the weekend. It's a bank holiday. It's May. There are 3 bank holidays in this month. And what we were talking about after training was what we used to look forward to with bank holidays. And you're probably the same as me. When we were younger, what the smile in your face tells me that we're on the same page here. But what was it that you used to look forward to when you know there's a bank holiday coming up?
Bank holiday weekends for me. We're based in Plymouth. We've got a place called The Hoe, and that was used to be full of pubs. Okay, so you'd start off drinking probably, I don't know if you did the same, at sort of midday, and you drink right through, and it'd be
you were a late starter.
It would be a really good weekend, but that choice of doing that, the next day I would be feeling not very good, and even for a few days after that. So say if we started drinking on a Sunday normally for a bank holiday weekend, all day, and then there's no way I'll be making the 6 a.m. BJJ class.
No. And then this is where this conversation came from, just reflecting back on the choices that we used to make. And we talked about this off air as well. We want to be very clear here that we're not going to start talking about choices with the aim to shame anybody, because when we were younger, that was a good choice to us, to go out, to party, to socialize, to drink, to have some fun and all that. But as you get older, we now have a family, we have different goals, and we're both on much different paths in life compared to what we were when we were 18, 19, 20. So we make different choices. And I think when I think about choices, your life, every choice you make, macro or micro, they all lead you in a direction. And it's the sum total of all those choices that, think about it, like right where we are right now. Every choice we've ever made in our entire life has brought us to this exact moment right here, right now, talking on this podcast, sat next to each other in Pantheon Gym on a Monday morning. Every single choice, good, bad, or indifferent. So they're powerful things, is what I'm trying to say. And I think they are something that we need to take seriously. But they're also, and I don't know how you feel about it, I think when you have goals in life and when you figured out what your purpose is and what direction to move in, those choices are easier to make. Would you agree?
I think they are easier to sort of come up with, but I do also think sometimes it's like a hard thing to put into action. So sometimes, I'll, for an example, sometimes come up with a training program and it would be, I'm training 6 a.m. this day, I'm training whatever, and it would be so many hours of training a week. That choice was easy to make because I know my long-term goal is this, but actually implementing those choices that I've made is difficult at times. And the way I sort of look at it is not to give yourself too much of a hard time about it. I always go on about the same principle, 80-20. If you can do it 80% of the time and 20% of the time you're not doing it, it's fine. That's still a win over the long over the long game. So I think choices are easier when you have set goals, but I do think it's still difficult sometimes to implement those choices that you've made. And also, don't give yourself too much of a hard time if you said, okay, I want to eat this way, or I want to do this, and you don't do it exactly that way. Give yourself a break as well. Those choices are like easy to put in when you set goals, but hard to implement, I think.
Yeah. And it's like I said earlier, you know, we didn't decide to talk about this with the aim to shame anybody and be like, you must stick to your choices, you must be disciplined, you must do this, that and the other. You know, life gets in the way. We got families, children, careers, and all these other things. And then life throws curveballs at you. You know, sometimes it doesn't always go to plan. But I think the overarching message of what we're trying to say is the majority of your time, it's beneficial to you and those around you to make positive choices. You've got to be a little bit disciplined. Think about, you know, what am I trying to achieve here long term, and then make the most appropriate choices in that moment.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that. I do think, as you said, it's difficult to make. It starts with a goal. So you start with the goal where you want to be, and then it comes up with sort of choices of how do I get to that goal, and also knowing that sometimes those choices are not going to be easy, as we said before, but knowing that you'll get there eventually, and it's never fast. It's always slow. I don't know about you, but I think that's important to know, not to give you too much of a hard time. But as you say, we're not saying if you choose to get up at 6 a.m., you need to get up at 6 a.m. If you choose to get up earlier and you get up at 6:30, then it's still a win. It's still a win. So if you make those choices, be aware that those choices will have impacts as well on other people. So like my choices I make now is not just about improving my life, but it's about improving, say, my kid's life or anyone I'll come into contact with. If I make good choices, that's like, it spreads. It's like it's like you're touching other people as you make those good choices. You're impacting other people, and then they're making good choices, and it sort of spreads around that. And I think all we want to do is really spread that sort of word of, you know, try and make good choices if you can. If you fail sometimes, don't give yourself such a hard time, and know that your choices are not just for you. Sometimes they're for other people as well. So, you know, sometimes can be a bit of a selfish choice sometimes, like say getting up this morning at 6 a.m. training, then we've come over here to record a podcast. Sometimes can be a bit selfish, but we know by doing that sort of training, by talking about this kind of stuff, later on when we see the family or whatever, or I know you're on the road later, you know, we can talk to them about, what do you talk about today? Or we talked about choices. Why are choices important? And then I can ask my kids, why do you think choices are important? And then we can have the same discussion. It has that big impact of everyone as we sort of move forward.
Yeah, and kids say some very profound things. I think we'll actually get some great content ideas from the kids
I think so.
Moving forward with this. But yeah, this was the Rapid Fire podcast. Short, sharp, to the point, dropping some knowledge bombs that just drop into our heads as and when. Anything else, Ricky?
No, I'd say to expect more of these. They're going to be short and sharp, and we'll get them out as fast as we can, guys, okay?
All right. See you on the next one.
Bye.